Let's get it. It's another Friday of Gameday Nation presented by Renewal by Anderson. A better way to a better window. I'm Yaw Bonsu alongside my tag team partners, Rep Boyd, and so nice we had to bring them in twice, John Hobbs III. How you doing, Councilman? Welcome back.
Listen, sir, I'm so excited to be here and be amongst such great basketball minds. You know I miss it, but when I get to get in here with Rhett, and we used to go at it on the court, now we get to sit in here and do it at the table.
Beautiful. You picked a good night to come in. Our game of the week, Northview and Whitmer. Remember, back on December 19th, right here on Gameday Nation, Whitmer took that game by 1 in triple overtime. But these two teams couldn't be any more different since that first matchup, and it starts, Coach Boyd, with the young Wildcats.
Yeah, and it's, some things are hard to explain.
Yeah, definitely.
And you watch this Northview basketball team, there's nights they're starting 2 seniors, a sophomore, and 2 freshmen.
Coach McDonald told us earlier in the week that Whitmer is the most different team athletically than any other team that the Wildcats have played this season. But you spoke about the Anthony Wayne matchup. Coach Hobbs, you were on that Anthony Wayne game. What did you see from Northview that gave you the indications that this Wildcats team could be special?
What I saw from Northview was that they've got a freshman.
David Rowland, yep.
And
he dropped 22 in that game.
Listen, Rowland and Robinson, those 2 young men are playing way above level.
There is a scenario where Northview ends the night on top of the NLL Buckeye Division. We'll get to that a little bit later, but here's what to expect tonight on Gameday Nation. Live game look-ins, of course. We have basketball and hockey tonight. We also have our top recruit. We're going to head over to Genoa. We also have our student section of the week, top area teams, game highlights, post-game interviews, ref of the week, big play breakdown. Here's a look at the slate we have tonight on the basketball side. Northview and Whitmer is our game of the week. We also have another rematch, Anthony Wayne and Perrysburg, another game you saw on Gameday Nation. Anthony Wayne losing that matchup to Perrysburg. You have Napoleon at Bowling Green, Start versus Rogers, the City League Championship. That's going to be a fun one. Edison at Huron, Columbian at Sandusky, but all eyes on that Anthony Wayne-Perrysburg matchup as well.
And for me, we're at that time of year where you're in that grind, right? I mean, and you might be banged up, you might hit the wall a little bit. Well, both those teams got a reality check in the last 14 days.
But we also have the Girls City League Championship. Rogers and Start, these rivals have combined for the last 14 City League titles. Spartans looking for back-to-back City League titles. And for more, we hand it over to Greg Frankie and Sandy Brown.
That's really not bad for them after that first quarter.
Start leading Rogers 11-6 in the City League Championship. You're watching Gameday Nation presented by Renewal by Anderson. A better way to a better window. We'll be right back. It is halftime presented by Citizens National Bank. Whitmer up 34-21 over Northview in our game of the week. The Wildcats, maybe the hype is getting to them just a little bit. We'll have second half action in a little bit. But tomorrow on Sports Nightly, we'll have highlights of the Catholic League tournament. Let's take a look at the bracket featuring some teams in our area. Of course, St. Francis, St. John's, Central Catholic. We've spoken a lot about those 3 on Gameday Nation, specifically who can be a scary team come to postseason. We already know Central Catholic has distinguished itself as one of, if not the best team in the area, but St. John's. You talk about St. John's, that district is going to be loaded with Anthony Wayne, St. Francis, among others. But here is the Catholic League bracket. On the bright side, none of the Toledo area Catholic League teams got drawn against each other in the first round. But when you take a look at this bracket, St. Francis taking on Brother Rice. We know how hard that game will be. You have Central Catholic taking on St. Mary's Prep. And then you have St. John's Jesuit taking on UD Jesuit. Of course, the Detroit schools are having somewhat of a down year, most of them, but when you look at these first round matchups, Coach Boyd, which is the one that stands out most to you?
I'm going to go with St. Francis, Brother Rice.
That's probably the toughest matchup out of the 3 schools.
Yeah, Brother Rice knocked St. Francis around a couple weeks ago, but that's a game, though, that's the most compelling in that opening round. If the higher seeds get through, and you got a Brother Rice versus DCC semifinal, when they played in game 1, Brother Rice beat DCC by 11.
I wish you were here last week because we spoke a lot about St. Francis and whether the Knights could be a scary team. Where are you right now on St. Francis as far as it being a contender in this area?
I think that right now St. Francis is not playing the best ball they need to be playing to be a contender.
But you know that the Knights made it to the Final Four last year. How
Yes, sir.
much does that kind of impact your opinion on them coming into this postseason?
I mean,
do you trust them knowing that they have championship pedigree?
I do trust that they have that, but you got to get there. And it's quite a road to get there. So right now, they're not playing right now at that level to get there. And that's just what I see. I might be wrong.
So I don't know what it's going to be like in
and
next
that
by
impacts
next
a
week.
lot as far as whether St. Francis can make a deep run. It's all convoluted.
But here's the thing.
We'll figure it out eventually.
Can St. Francis win there? If it's St. Francis, Northview start, and Ashland, can St. Francis win that district? Absolutely, they can.
But they got to get past the Catholic League tournament first. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Gameday Nation. Yaw Bonsu, Rhett Boyd, John Hobbs III. Girls City League Championship start defeating Rogers 40-30 to repeat as a City League champ. All right, future outlook for the Spartans. We're talking about a district that includes Anthony Wayne, that includes Northview. The Spartans already beat the Wildcats earlier this season, lost to the Generals. But how can Start impose its physicality? Same thing we saw with Whitmer against Northview. How can Start do that in its bracket to make a deep run in the tournament?
I think it's on the defensive end of the floor.
Yep.
And on the defensive end of the floor, it's kind of what we talked about with Whitmer's boys tonight. Just be solid, be disciplined.
Offensive engine for Start, Jade Latson, reigning City League Player of the Year, and she's repeating that tonight. We saw her get into the paint down low. We saw her do what Jade Latson does inside the paint, but her consistency is what stands out for the Spartans, Coach Hobbs.
Yeah, Jade Latson has been a player that has, since her freshman year, she's been an impactful player. When she was at Scott, and then she came on over to Start, and she brought that same intensity with her.
Yeah, and remember a season ago, Start eliminated Northview, so a lot of bad blood between the two teams, to say the least. Jade Latson, we talked about her being the offensive engine for Start this season. We caught up with her post-game. Yaw Bonsu, Rhett Boyd, John Hobbs III, big-time NLL action, Perrysburg 74-57 win over Anthony Wayne. Coming in, we said that the Yellow Jackets didn't necessarily have a signature win, but tonight they looked good. How impressed are you with how Perrysburg showed up tonight?
They were frothing at the mouth.
Yeah.
Coming out of the locker room.
Hungry, starving.
They were like a starved dog after about 72 hours. And they came out, they threw the first punch. They threw the second punch, the third punch, the fourth punch, the fifth punch, and they knocked Anthony Wayne out in the first quarter. I think they're up 16-0 to start the basketball game.
Coach Hobbs continuing the analogies. I mean, Perrysburg, styles make fights. The Yellow Jackets look like prime Muhammad Ali. Anthony Wayne, an amateur boxer. The Yellow Jackets, anything they wanted, they got tonight.
Yeah, the Yellow Jackets absolutely were more physical. They used the athleticism. They closed out, and they made them shoot over the top versus being able to go around. And it was just a game of desire and heart.
But you said you can't teach that.
No, you can't. And so they, again, stepped up to the plate.
But isn't this the worst time to go through a stretch like that? I know you have the postseason, everybody makes it, but I don't want to look too far ahead. You want to take it game by game, but right now to have a stretch like that?
It's all about your kids and their mindset.
Yeah.
Do they still want to keep playing? Or are they looking forward to spring sports?
Thanks, Ben.
We revealed our all BCSN top 30 a week ago. Ben Paymer, no surprise, he's on the list, but after a 20-point performance tonight, you can see exactly why he's one of the 30 best boys basketball players in the area. Meanwhile, another NLL matchup, our game of the week, Northview and Whitmer. We knew it was a mismatch coming in, but Northview dominated by the Panthers tonight. Coach Hobbs, what can the Wildcats, you said, you used the example, it's one thing if you're winning a bunch of games and then you drop one, the Wildcats are in that situation. The Wildcats are young and they can use a loss like this.
And so I think this loss tonight is a benefit because what happens with a loss like this, with a young team, let's be honest, we've heard the hype. Oh, this young team, they're doing so, what's that? And sometimes you can believe your own hype. So sometimes you need that reality check.
Welcome back to Gameday Nation, presented by Renewal by Anderson. Yaw Bonsu, Rhett Boyd, John Hobbs III. It's time for some top 8 teams in the area. As the season is getting closer to playoff time, we are starting to see contenders separate themselves from the pretenders. Coach Boyd, your top 8 girls teams, who do you got?
Well, you got to start with Bellevue. I mean, they're undefeated right now, and Coach Santoro and Turinsky and company have done an unbelievable job. Tecumseh, they just knocked off the number 8 team in Division I in Michigan. Earlier this year, they knocked off the number 5 team in Michigan in Division I.
Will be interesting to see Anthony Wayne in the postseason, considering the Generals are dominating teams in the area. Notre Dame, the rotation is short. They got great players at the top of it, but those 6 varsity players, we'll see if they can hold on throughout the postseason and start winning the City League title today. We'll see if the Spartans can keep up, as you said, that physicality to potentially carry it through a district that includes your number 3 team and Anthony Wayne. Coach Hobbs, your girls' teams, top 8.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? he didn't leave me anything to talk about. You know, that's a Red boy.
We don't even gotta put a full screen
He
up.
left me nothing to
Fully
talk
agree.
about. So what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say?
Say no more.
I tell you what, I agree, Coach. That's it.
Say no more.
Hey, that's another one.
Let's throw you a lob with the guys then. Your top 8 boys teams in the area.
I'm riding with Coach Boy. I can't.
The top 8, I mean, this, and when we get this late into the season, right, you start to see teams be consistent. Coach Boyd, take us through your top 8. We all agree at this desk, but explain it anyway.
Well, Lima Senior, Coach Quincy Simpson, Coach Hobbs talked about him earlier. He does it every single year. National recruit and Sean Foster, Willie Foster. But if it holds like it was originally, Lima, St. John's, Anthony Wayne are all in the same district, and then St. Francis, Northview, and Start are in the other one. So who knows?
Yes. Here's another look at the scores tonight. Perrysburg, the big winner of the night, 74-57 over Anthony Wayne in a rivalry matchup. Whitmer taking down Northview in our game of the week, 77-46. And then more out-of-area scores. Maumee Valley taking care of business. We'll have highlights on Gameday Nation Overtime, hosted by Mark Coots. I'm Yaw Bonsu. For Rep Boy John Hobbs III. Have a great night.